Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we got one skill fusion with this Tempest Elite meta, and that is the first Anniversary Dark Rimuru, who really doesn't see much play because he is quite a gimmicky unit. His first skill is that alt steal, so you activate it, and for 2 turns, if an enemy wants to ult you, then their ult is cancelled, and you gain that ult gauge. At least the Rimuru does. And it is really not that useful even during his meta, and it's much less useful even now, but it's still something. But that's not the skill that actually got the skill fusion. It is obviously his crit skill. So it started out at level 10, guaranteed crits and 40% crit damage for anybody who is dark. So specifically dark characters would get the crit damage, but everybody would get guaranteed crits, and that was 55 points. And now with the skill fusion, when it goes up to level 10, it's a 40-point skill now, and it's still a guaranteed crit for everybody, but now it's giving Dark and Tempest Elite characters 40% crit damage. So it is opening the pool of units up that can get the crit buff, and Tempest Elite is quite a large category, so that is useful. It's just also unfortunate that in order to be skill fused, you need to be level 100, and that's not something that a lot of people can do if they have a whole bunch of, lower tier Tempest Elite units and like, I need a good crit buffer. Oh, Dark Rimuru. Oh, wait. I don't have him maxed out. But, it's neither here nor there. So having a skill cost, 15 points lower is great, and then opening up the pool of units to actually get the crit damage buff is pretty good too, regardless of the skill fusion rules. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade this, and then we will test him out on his original team, and then we'll throw him on just a Tempest Elite team now that they can get it, and we'll see how well he can work. Alright, his, Dark Rimuru's first anniversary team, Veldora, Milim, free-to-play Isis. We're bringing free-to-play Aaron, because this team desperately needs an orange orb changer. And then we've got Shinsha and then Rimuru himself. So obviously he's built for this team. He's giving guaranteed crits to Shinsha and Milim, who are the DPS units on this team. Veldora's giving magic damage, Milim's giving ult damage, and now that she's skill fused as well, all dark units get a 25% attack buff. So attack buff, crit damage buff, we're getting a lot of stuff here. And the first anniversary, this was a good team. This was a very good team. It just needed an orange orb changer, and unfortunately they gave it to someone who didn't deserve to be on the team, and that was Diablo, who was a physical unit on a magic team, and with a protector who was giving magic damage. But I digress. Okay. The beginning of this is fairly easy. Thankfully, this is a stage that has set starting hands, makes things very, very simple and easy to do. So we'll go ahead and send all these Milim orbs. Rimuru, honestly, he's not going to do much here. He's really not. We're going to use him for his gimmick when Gazel wants to ult, and that's about it. And then we're going to, on the nuke turn, buff up and get Milim some crazy damage. And that is an excellent turn 2 hand. Thank God. Alright, so we will use her orb change, we'll use the Isis buff, we'll use the Shinsha crit resistance down and skill point buff, and then we'll go ahead and reset all that with Veldora. Veldora just being a worse version now of the Overlord Rimuru protector, because Overlord Rimuru does everything that Veldora wants to do, but better. And, that's just the nature of gacha games. He came out a year and change ago, right? And Rimuru came out last month. So it would only make sense that Rimuru is better protector than Veldora. Okay, see, this is why we brought Aaron. This is why we brought a dedicated orange orb changer. So Isis can get out of here. We have no Milim orbs, so, we could take her out. In fact, I think we will. And Aaron can come in for Milim. And we'll change those, and do that, and we'll put another green buff on, we'll put some crit stuff on, just because we need to use more skills to get Veldora capped out faster. He caps at 70% magic, and he gets 5% every time you use a skill. So it does take a few uses of some skills to get there, but it's up until turn, 8? And we're only on turn 3, and we're almost capped out anyways, so it's not exactly what I would say difficult to do. We have an EX ult with Dark Shinsha, not that she can do an EX ult, but we're definitely there, and that's the power of Isis, really, who is still to this day probably one of the best just free-to-play units in the game. You know, there are a lot of teams that run on greens, and a lot of teams need a blue orb changer, and a lot of those teams can also use a green buffer, and that's what makes Isis so damn good compared to other units. So, we'll bring you in for... yeah, we'll just bring you in. Okay, you come in. Cool, that gives us a full hand. Awesome. We don't have any, like, swapping units here because this is an old team. Doesn't really matter all that much, though. But by having Rimuru up front, I believe next turn he's going to give himself an ult, and then we're going to steal that ult, and we're not going to think too much about it. So this will also get Rimuru his ult, I think. Yes, it does. It gets everybody's ult except Aaron, and we're doing a lot of damage. So this stage is really not prepared for the power creep that is, you know, 2 years later. Alright, so there's the attack seal. Unfortunate, it is what it is. There's the ult. So we're going to get a little funky here. So we'll orb change with Aaron. Boom. We'll get Shinsha in here. And then we'll use her extra skill point and crit resistance down. We'll get her out. We'll bring Isis in. And we'll use the Isis orb change after we reset. And also, we will use the yoink. So the ult yoink. So for 2 turns, nullify the enemy's ult and increase your own ult gauge by 100%. And then increase all souls skill point until the end of battle by 9%, because it's not capped out at 100, because there's no reason to, because you never use this skill, except now. So there we go, we have this little icon here that puts this little hand up, and he will yoink and ult. It only works for 1 ult, though, so if you're fighting an AoE stage and all 3 of them are ulting, you're going to yoink 1 of them, and then you're going to get hit by 2 more. So that's the only thing you got to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and send the Isis ult. Hopefully it doesn't kill, I guess, actually. Hopefully. But on the plus side, it now takes less points to actually nuke. So there, he ulted, but he didn't because we just got all of that back. Now we have 2 ult gauges for Rimuru, and we, you know, didn't take any damage. But because it's now a 40-point skill, we only need 40 plus the 80, so 120 plus another 55. So 175 points to nuke instead of having, what, 190 that we needed last time. Which, you know, is doable. Except we need some orbs here. So Rimuru is going to go away. Boom, and we'll have our orb changers up front. We will do Milim. And do we still have the Isis buff on? We do not. Alright, so let's use that as well. And then we'll use the Aaron orb change. Get 5 greens, and then hopefully that gives us enough points to get us to that magical number in 2 more turns. And we'll send actually Aaron last. That way she does the least amount of damage. Perfect. Now we just need to get up to a protection gauge, and we'll be all good because Veldora is definitely capped out. And we can do that and that. Perfect. Perfect. And that should give us, yep, enough points. Hopefully we don't kill, right? Please don't kill. Alright, good. We're nerfed. Alright, so we had to leave Milim up front the entire time so she wouldn't be sealed on this nuke turn right here. But now, we're at 213, which means we still would have had enough points to do it, you know, regardless. But now it's just a little bit easier. So we'll bring you in, and we'll bring Shinsha in for Isis. Now, the crit damage itself was not changed. So this team will do the same amount of damage as it always has done. It's just, it's easier to get because it's lower cost, and it opens it up to more units, which we will definitely try after we do this initial nuke. Because it's not that difficult. Alright, and yeah, he's almost dead already. Which just, yeah, again shows the power creep of what happens when you have a good, competent team working for yourself instead of against yourself, like some teams want. And Milim will go ahead and finish this up. We'll go ahead and watch this anyways. So Rimuru, on his own team, really doesn't have that much of a difference. There's not really too much of an impact, because you're always going to have a lot of points, probably, and the nuke damage is the same. So, 500k? It's pretty good. that was good for the first anniversary team. And now, Visions of Coleus 2-year anniversary, we did, what, 10 million damage? So, things have changed. Alright, so just taking a look. This is the Tempest Elite team right now. We still don't know when the EX Benimaru is going to drop for the Tempest Elite team itself, so we're still only stuck with the Wind Shuna, but this is probably the biggest team in the game. So there are a lot of units here. And Rimuru is not limited to a certain type of, color of team. Like, he can be on an orange team, he could be on a blue, and he's meant to be on a green team, but none of his skills have that major restriction. So it's easy to build a blue team for him, or an orange team even there, and all these characters will get the crit buff. Now, it's just the stage you take him in, can you actually use crit? And that's a different story. So let's build a team, let's find a stage that we can use some characters here, and we'll try it out. Alright, so we're going to put him back on a green-focused team, but this time we're going to use Bride Xion and the Light 2.0 Pierce team to, give Xion some extra damage, right? I don't think this stage has crit resistance at all. If it does, then I'm going to be very, very sad about it. Defense, guard rate, defense, guard rate, defense, guard rate. And Xion, crit rate, dark attack, physical attack, crit damage. Okay, yeah, okay, we're fine. So, Xion is on Tempest Elite. So, Rimuru will now give her that crit damage, which before he wouldn't because she's light, and he only gave it to dark. So we can also hold this buff on the back because they're both separate buffs that are procced on the unit. So if we can get her ult, which will not be hard on this team, then we could use Rimuru's buff early, save it, and then bring her back later on. If we were going to bring another big time support unit like Light Leon or an ult buffer or something like that, or Blanc, we could do Blanc here technically. I don't know how well it would work, but it would enable us to use multiple big time buffs. But for here, we're just going to go with the standard team as I used to run it. English is hard. Okay, we can work with this. So, Shizu, every time you use a skill, you get extra pierce rate. And Xion, every time you use a skill, you get extra pierce power. Now, Xion is skill fused, so she starts at 40% instead of 20% or something, I think. So your Xion may not look as good as my Xion does, but we have a few different skills here that we can use, and that will just start building us up slowly but surely. And while she doesn't have any orbs, we can definitely make use of it next turn. So let's bring Isis in here for Dark Rimuru, because she's got Dark Lumi underneath her. And we'll go ahead and attack Shinsha, because she's quite defensive after the first turn. And then we can start building up. Plus Xion's trait gives her extra ult gauge. So, okay, heal. Good. Keeps her alive longer. And then their Bride Xion comes in and hits us a few times. And now we've got Xion here. We've got this, but we still want to make sure that we can use a lot of skills. So let's put some Pierce Resistance, Dark Attack, or Dark... Sorry, not Dark. Ult Gauge increase. We'll use the Green Buff skill. And then we'll bring, I think, Shinsha in for just another orb change. It doesn't really matter. Because, I just want more power. So here, and then we'll use Shizu to swap all the orbs to greens, give us guaranteed pierce at this point, almost, and give us a little bit of protection gauge from the charm. And we'll go ahead and send this. This will get Xion's ult plus another Shizu, and we're up to 95%, and Xion is up to 55% pierce power, so we're looking pretty good. Not that we've used the pierce power yet, but, look at the damage that we're doing. It's pretty good. And now, she's ready to go. She's got the ult. She's not an EX character, so there's no point in, us trying to leave her up front. So, only thing is, we want to continue to use more skills. And, because this skill is now 40 points, it does open it up a little bit to using a few more here and there. So we'll get Shinsha out, we'll use Rimuru, and we'll use his buff. It's not going to hit this Groom Rimuru, because he, for some reason, is not on Tempest Elite, even though it's still Rimuru. So, okay, logic, whatever. But, boom, guaranteed crit, and then crit damage you saw popped up there. We still have 60 points to burn, which is quite a bit, which allows us to use a few more skills. So let's bring Isis in now for Xion, and then we can use her orb change, Boom, and then we have enough to use Rimuru's Orb Change. Cool. And turn 3 is where we get capped out. So after this turn is over, no more skills will be buffing the Pierce Power for Xion. But we're not going to need it, honestly, because we're going to have 2 ults here. 3 ults, technically. And next turn, we'll have enough points to use the light buff from Shinsha and the Pierce and attack buff with Xion with points left over. So that's why if you brought another big time buffing unit, it would work out very, very easy. Because you could either put 2 buffs on that turn, right? Because 40 points plus 55 is 95 points, and you still have 5 points left over. And your converter, or your protector, is converting all your orbs. So, I mean, things can work very well for you. So Xion comes back. She still has the crit and the crit damage buff, so Rimuru no longer is necessary up here. We'll bring Shinsha in. We'll use her light buff, and then we'll use the Pierce resistance down, and that leaves us with 64% Pierce power plus 30% attack. And then we'll go ahead and activate the Pierce, and that went on the wrong unit, but oh well. It doesn't really matter, because they're going to die anyways. So there's the Pierce now. We're up to 110% or something like that. Yeah, 110%, so more than guaranteed. And we'll send this ult, and then we'll have Rimuru finish up Shinsha. So Xion now has, what? You know, the 50-something% Pierce power, the 30% attack, guaranteed crit, and 40% crit damage, and the Pierce resistance down, and the light buff. So she's actually got quite a few things going for her right now. And she does 168, which, you know what? For this kind of burst team, a very old burst team, that's pretty good damage for her. And it used to be worse, honestly, right? Because, you know, we didn't used to have a good crit unit. We put the hero on this team, and that'd be crit and crit resistance down. It kind of evens out, but okay, we didn't actually kill Shinsha. Alright. If we had actually Xion orbs, we would. But, I mean, you get the idea. Being a lower cost skill makes it easier to do things on the nuke turn or the setup turn. And by opening it up to having more units that can ride underneath that buff, it just makes things easier to get, crit on a team that you normally wouldn't have crit on the team. But you guys got the idea. I'm not going to finish this fight. Let's go put her on a blue team, or let's go put him on a blue team now or something. Alright. Since his skill fusion isn't, super duper amazing, I think we're just going to call the video there. 2 teams, they're both green teams. One is long-term focused and one is short-term focused. Like I said earlier, you could put him on really any orb-focused team. Like, you could put him on a blue team, you could put him on an orange team, and he'll work. Because the skill is, 15 points cheaper. It does make things easier to use alongside other skills. And, a blue stacking team would run almost the same way as the green stacking team. An orange team would be, a little bit harder to work with, but it'd be somewhere around the same way that we were using the Bride team. It's just short burst. So he can work as long as you build at least a nuker around being either Dark or Tempest Elite. And you'll get a fairly good buff for middle to early game players if you happen to have him at level 100. So that's also why I'm not too keen on a lot of skill fusion videos, because not a lot of people have these like fully maxed out, and it's just one of the worst things about this game. And I pray that they change it every single time a user survey comes out. But overall, I mean, it's a decent skill fusion. It's not bad by any means. The skill was good to begin with for a Dark team, and now it's good for a Dark team and a whole bunch of other units. But let me know what you guys think. That's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.